Hello, welcome to our Lunch and Learn today with F.Y.I. Live. I am your host, Carlos Garcia, and I have a very special guest, Ms. Traci Ottosen from Ottosen and Company Property Management. Welcome, Traci.
Hi, thanks for having me, Carlos.
No, this is great. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I wanted folks to learn about your business and what's going on in as far as property management. But before we jump right into the nuts and bolts of our conversation, I want folks to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about how Ottosen and Company came about. And if you can start that with us, that'd be awesome.
All right. So like Carlos said, my name is Traci Ottosen, and I am one of the owners of Ottosen and Company Property Management. I have been doing property management for, heading into 21 years. You're probably thinking I started when I was 10, but that's not true. It's something I've grown to love. I grew up in the real estate world. My family owned rental properties. Of course, being little, I thought we were just nice people giving away houses, but later realized a little bit about the business. My big push for starting Ottosen and Company happened when the market crashed. Unfortunately, a lot of folks were losing their houses at that time. On the flip side for us, a lot of investors were picking up properties. And that's how we got started was, just taking over the management of their properties and protecting their assets and finding great tenants for them.
Oh, that's great. So I know I have several questions I want to make sure that I cover with you, but let's start with give us a little bit of tips on if you're a tenant and you're looking for a property. What are maybe some things that as a tenant you may be wanting to ask or look at?
Yeah, great question. So times are obviously a little unique right now with all the COVID going on. So I'm just going to speak from a general standpoint. I would say as a tenant, what really is appealing to us when we're looking at applications is that the application's complete, that you actually fill out all the information that's asked. It's a great way for us to go through and process your application with knowing, who your employer is and being able to reach out and have a conversation with them. And most importantly, for us personally, we won't even consider a tenant if we're not able to touch base with their current landlord. Credit's important, income's important, but, when you're bringing somebody into a home, it's really important to know, their past. Do they take care of the property well? Do they, pay their rent on time? So I would say tell your story. Don't just fill out your application and turn in your documents. Tell us a little bit about who you are and your family and why you're making this move and what this home, would look like for you and your family.
Excellent. Well, alongside of that, if I was a property owner and I actually wanted to rent my place out, obviously, a lot of property owners think that they know what they're doing, but in reality, there's a limited scope of their knowledge. You obviously come in with a wealth of knowledge that not only protects owners as well, but and that may be something that what separates you from anybody else as far as if I'm a property owner, I have a new property I want to rent out, what would be the purpose of me calling you for your expertise?
Absolutely. Well, we've seen it all with over 20 years of experience. I could tell you guys stories till the end of July. And so I would say the experience, but not only that, we are daily into the laws. We have attorneys on retainer. As you know, even now in the times we're in with COVID, with laws changing and rules changing, that's something we focus on. So the big picture of, from a liability standpoint, keeping your property safe and you protected as a homeowner, but also just, like I said, staying up on all the new laws. As well as going down to a smaller scope of city rules. Most of us know within each city, there's specific code enforcement rules. Some of them, which seem simple to us, like don't park on the grass or bring in your trash cans, after a certain point of time. But that's something we always do. When we take over a property, whatever city it's in, we find out what are the city codes so we can protect your property from getting any fines that may have been caused from a tenant or just protecting that property. We do a full background check on all of our tenants. So, we want to know who's going to be in your house, not just if they have the money and their credit score is great. Those are obviously important things, but beyond that, so credit score, what is your credit score and what's on it? Deeper than that, we do a housing check with the local courthouses. So, do you have an eviction on your credit? Well, yeah, that might show up, but if you're in the middle of an eviction, that'll also ting in our system if you have an unlawful detainer or something's going on there. We also do a background and a criminal check, as well as check to see if applicants are on the sex offender list. We do verification.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, just natural stuff. So verification of employment. So not just great, you wrote down you make, $15,000 a month and here's some pay stubs. Like I said, I've been around for a long time and I've seen it all, to homemade pay stubs and, fake phone numbers that look great. So we have a team who specifically makes those calls, and we call the employer and we speak to somebody. So, it's great that you have the pay stubs, but are they real? How secure is that person's job? So we just go a little bit deeper to just protect, the homeowner. Nothing's guaranteed. I can never look at a homeowner and say, I found you a fantastic tenant and they're never going to be late and they're never going to not pay their rent.
Right.
Just like anything, we're just not able to guarantee that, but we definitely go through a very wide checking for a tenant, getting to know them and who's going to be into the property. And I think stuff's changed. I think, 10 years ago, it was a lot easier to manage your property. It was, hey, you have money, hey, pay me here, and stuff just carries on. Unfortunately, we live in California where tenant landlord laws are changing and getting tighter each and every month and year. So, it's becoming a little bit more difficult, and staying on top of all those laws and changes is important.
Yeah. So what are some things that, as a homeowner thinking about possibly renting a property, what are some questions that I should be asking myself before I reach out to you to consider?
As far as like what services we could provide that person who owns the property?
That's part one of it. The other is, okay, so now I came into, let's just say I just happen to have I have a property that I just came, I now own. And okay. I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't want to sell it. I want to possibly rent it out. So is there some specific questions that I should be asking myself, whether I should rent it out as opposed to just selling it?
Absolutely. I think those questions are very important. And I think, if you just, I would take the example, you said all of a sudden I got a property. I've dealt with quite a few over the last 6 months of people who have inherited properties. Grandparents or parents have left properties and they're like, great, I'm an engineer. I know nothing about the rental market. I know nothing about this. And really, our integrity means a lot. It's not just about, hey, we want another contract to manage your property. It's what is the best interest for, that property owner. So we do an asset evaluation of the property. What's the property worth? What's your end goal? Do you want this for a long term? Do you just want to cash out and have nothing to do with it? But we'll do a full evaluation of that property as well as rental comps. So, doing a walkthrough and, saying, hey, you probably want to change that or clean that. Of false expectations that I find, very common is owners who say, okay, I have this property, but Traci, I'll call you in a few months because I need to paint the house, get new carpet, get new, showers. And really that's not it. I really just ask people, like, take a deep breath. Let me help you along this journey. Let me do a property walk. Let's look at it and be like, no, this is great. We want to touch up some paint. We want to shampoo the carpets. This is what we're looking at for rents, and really just looking at the asset as a whole, not just buy or sell, right? Or sell or, keep for a rental. Really just what makes sense for that person specific. And we do that, obviously, no charge. We would really just like to help you find out what's best for you.
Excellent. Folks, if you're just joining us, welcome. I know we've got some folks joining us. We have Marie, we have Elva, Tamara, John is in here as well too. So thank you folks for joining us. If you have any questions for Traci while we're doing this live segment, please post them on the chat. Also, as you can see below, we have her website as well. So if you want some additional information and her contact information, make sure that you go to ottosenco.com and you'll be able to get some additional information too. Again, this is Traci Ottosen with Ottosen and Company Property Management, and we're very happy to have her here explaining to us how not to worry, having somebody with her expertise help us out with if in case you do have a property as well too. So Traci, with everything that's happening with COVID right now, what are some trends that you're seeing, or what are some things that you can share with folks out there that are in this boat?
Absolutely. So times are definitely a little bit strange right now. I do want to say up front that, I'm sure most of you know or not, the governor put into place no evictions. So currently if you have a tenant paying or not, we are just on hold, no evictions. But on top of that being placed in California, each county and each city may have implied different rules on top of that. So that's why I don't like to talk specific, because you might say, hey, Traci said I could do this with my property.
Right.
It really just depends on city and county of where your property is. I would say for us personally, we're less than 1% of tenants not paying rent, which is very, very low. We did a lot of communication when everything first happened, with handwritten notes, words of encouragement, just trying to keep the communication line open. The number one thing is communication. I think especially in times like this. And my motto with our business is we're here to help, right? We just need to know what's going on. So for me, we've had great success in collecting tenants' rents. Every month we've been pretty steady, and I would say, we have those couple, aren't even more than 4 tenants who are really struggling and need help. And we're able to provide that to them. Some people are reaching out saying, I have a rental property, tenants moved out, but because of COVID, should I just leave it vacant and not rent it out? Like, who's going to want to move during COVID? And I would say they are. I had a property in Laverne and received 26 applications within 48 hours. I think as a society, we always tend to look at the negative of stuff. And unfortunately, we're seeing more of that. But, there are people right now who are in an industry that hasn't been affected by COVID. There's FedEx and Amazon who are getting triple time and overtime and able to, set up a nest egg of reserves and able to, maybe move up to a bigger house. So I would just say during these times, be alert, because I have seen several people who are applying for properties who refuse to give me the landlord's contact information, or, it's wrong information. And once we track down that information, we do find out, that the tenant hasn't been paying their rent. But there are people out there who are still looking to move, to upgrade, to find properties. I'm getting, 15 plus applications on all of my properties right now. So there is positives out there. I would say you're definitely going to want to do extra checks on applications to make sure the information's legit. But yeah, I say business as usual. But yes, there are, on the flip side, a bunch of people who are affected by COVID and not able to pay their rent. And there's a lot of stuff in place to help them, get through these times. I don't know if that answers your question, or I kind of...
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. I think that this gives folks a lot of information to think about also. And again, folks, this is Traci Ottosen with Ottosen and Company. Her website is scrolling below, so make sure that you contact her. If you have any other questions too, please put them on the chat, and I'll make sure that Traci gets a chance to answer those questions too. So here's now I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Right? Here's a fun part of the show, right? And actually, it's not really on the spot, but this is more of what you've seen over the years doing property management. Can you think of maybe one example of a renter that really stands out for you that you helped out, and possibly also a property owner also that you've helped out that thought, I'm hopeless or whatever? Because we've all dealt with that. So
Yeah.
if you maybe think of, or you have an example of each one of those that you can share with us, I want folks to really see that you're just not a typical property manager. You actually go above and beyond. And I've heard you speak, I've heard your examples, and I want to make sure that folks are really aware that you're not like everybody else. This is the real Traci. This is really you with the heart to really help folks too. So
Oh, I appreciate that, Carlos. Yeah, I think being a business owner in any industry, you get to breed a lot of who you are inside into your business. And for me, my mission in life is to help people. So I have several examples. So on both sides, I'll start with the tenant side. Um, I think this is a general. I look at my applicants in more of a holistic approach. So some companies are like, hey, if your credit score is not 690, we automatically decline you and we're done. I don't believe in that. I think at some point we can all sit back and realize or think of a time when we were struggling a little bit, or things weren't where we wanted them to be. I had a family, and this was literally no joke, 2 weeks before Christmas, just this past Christmas, 2019. Income was there, job security was there. They had been at their jobs for 6+ years. One of them was 9+ years. Income was, 3-4 times of what the property rent was for that property. They were living in a hotel because they were given 60 days notice to be out of their current house and really wanted to honor that. So moved into a hotel. I had showed them the property. They loved the property. And of course, my spidey senses go up and say, your application looks pretty good. Why is it that you're being declined? What have these companies been telling you? Or, share with me some of your feedback. And so she kindly met at my office, and she brought all of her decline letters. And every single one of them, well, not every single. So out of the 6 she brought, one of them said the owner just chose somebody else, which you can't do anything with that. The other 5 of them were all because of credit score. Her credit score wasn't amazing, but it wasn't awful. She was at, it's been a few months now, 650, 660. She had a couple, late payments on her credit, which were during a specific 3 months. She brought paperwork with me saying my daughter had surgery during these 3 months. We struggled a little bit. And for me, just being able to really take time to look at this application, who these people were, their income was their great. And most important for me was that their landlord that they were with before, they were with for 15 years. And they said,
wow.
If we didn't need to sell this property, we would not be, getting rid of these tenants. They've paid on time. They've been fantastic. So for me, it just felt good to be able to get this family out of a hotel, get them moved into a home before Christmas with their little ones. And I believe it was because I took the extra time to actually look at them as people and not just an application and throwing
Right.
a number for a credit score. So I would say that's an example for the tenants. I have a few for owners. One of them I would say, same thing. As I mentioned before, they were inherited, left the property when grandparents passed away. And the example I used earlier was true. He was an engineer, said, Traci, I have no idea what I'm doing. I talked to this other realtor. He brought me all of his paperwork, along with an invoice of $23,000 of work that he needed to have
Wow.
before he can rent out the property. Updating bathrooms. And I just shook my head. It was, crazy. But I said, let me go look at the property. Let's take a look and, see what's going on. Again, don't know numbers specifically. I think we were in and out of his property for $4,400. Maybe it was $4,500. And the property rented within 3 weeks. So really just looking at, a specific situation of what's best for you, what works best for you, and then doing a little digging to find out that person, husband was the contractor. So their interest was getting my husband some work. not necessarily what was in the best interest for this gentleman who just inherited this property, who was just looking for guidance of what do I do? What do I do with this property? So that felt really good. He was very appreciative and referred me a ton of his, peers who owned rental property. So I think for me, like I said earlier, it goes back to integrity and doing the right thing for people. Passing by sometimes business of working with somebody who you don't align with always comes back 10 times with referrals and words of, good business that you've taken care of people.
So we have one question that just came up, and I'm going to actually bring it up here, and it is from Marilyn Sparks. And if you can see on there, how do you operate as a property manager during COVID?
All right, great question, Marilyn. Very carefully. So during this COVID time, it has been interesting, challenging. I'm not sure the right adjective. We take extra steps to just protect ourselves, protect our tenants, and protect the vendors the best way we can. For example, if a maintenance request comes in online of somebody whose shower's leaking or something's going on, we immediately contact them like we normally do. But we go through a questionnaire with them, and we have them DocuSign saying, I haven't been in contact with anybody who's been exposed to COVID. We personally don't have fevers. We don't have any signs, the general just consent of we feel fine. And we have that same form go out to the vendor, whether it's a plumber, electrician. So just doing extra steps to try and protect our tenants and keep them safe, keep our vendors safe who are out there going, to perform the work inside of tenants' properties. Again, it's not the end all to be all, but just trying to take those extra precautions. I had masks made as soon as all of this happened and we knew they were required. Sent them out to, our tenants, our vendors. So the normal stuff. If they're going into a property to do work, they're wearing a mask, they're wearing gloves, they're using hand sanitizer, they're using Lysol, those kind of steps to just protect. When I'm showing properties, when I have a property for lease, instead of opening up a 2-hour time block to say, hey, if you're interested, come take a peek. California Association of Realtors, we can't do open houses. So when I'm scheduling people, I'm scheduling them 20 minutes apart, 25 minutes apart at some time. So person comes in wearing a mask, goes through, takes a look at the property, and as soon as they exit the property, I'm staying outside the entire time. I go through and I Lysol, handles, drawers, things that they may have opened, just doing extra stuff to try to protect everybody involved. I'm a person who, we kind of stopped and evaluated, but I think business still needs to carry on, and we need to do the extra steps, even though it takes a little bit longer, to try and, protect everybody and keep safety measures in place.
That's awesome.
Your question, Marilyn.
No, that's a lot of great information. I appreciate you also sharing that too. But I know we're also getting very close to the end of our show, and I want to make sure that folks also know that what areas do you cover for management? Is there specific, from point A to point B, or?
Yeah, kind of. I wish I could draw you a map really quick. So I live in Glendora, love Glendora. Our office is in the city of Glendora, downtown Glendora in the Village. But we service areas from San Bernardino, Highland, Redlands area. So think of that as your point out that way, all the way back to Azusa, Duarte. We have some properties in Norwalk, Diamond Bar, Chino Hills. So that entire circle, Inland Empire, San Gabriel Valley area is really our big niche area. I get phone calls often. Hey, I have a property in downtown LA. Will you manage it? For me, my answer is almost always no, because I know the laws and the rules in these 28, 30 cities that we really focus on. And I want to make sure that I have the people in place and the knowledge to do, what it takes to take care of your property properly, instead of just collecting a monthly management fee.
No, that's awesome, and that's very good to hear too. Folks, if you're just joining us, thank you. You can watch the replay. Make sure that you share the video out too with your tribe as well too. Traci's website information is below, as you can see, ottosenceo.com. Make sure that you go there, check out her website, follow her as well too. If you have any additional questions, make sure you put them on the chat. She'll respond to those. And also, if you go to ottosenco.com, you're going to be able to get a hold of them. Phones are listed and email services as well too. Traci, I want to thank you for your time today. I wanted to make sure that you came on board to share with us not only your expertise, but I wanted folks to really get to know Traci, because Traci has a servant heart. She really is out to really help folks. And I wanted to make sure that the first time you and I spoke, I got that immediate impression from you. And the more I've gotten to know you over the last several months, I've gotten to know just how great that heart of yours is, to always willing to help people. So any last parting words for us?
No, I don't think so. Carlos, I appreciate you and allowing me to come on and share some stuff with people who are listening. And again, I'm here to help. I'm here to answer questions. As you said clearly, Carlos, I love to help people. So anything I can do or help guide anybody, I'm happy to do so. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Folks, thanks for joining us today. This has been another great Lunch and Learn at F.Y.I. Live. I am your host, Carlos Garcia. If you're interested in joining our Lunch and Learn series, please send me a message. I'd be happy to spotlight you. And again, I like having just really great, awesome, wholehearted folks like Traci. And again, thank you so much for your time. And we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.
Thank you.